What's up, Patreon family? This is your girl Megan from the Hood Astro Queen. Welcome back. Today I'm coming to y'all with another celebrity birth chart reading, this time on the reality television actress Tami Roman. We know her, meaning like millennials, Gen Z, we mostly know her for her long stint on Basketball Wives, but she was even on reality television like in the 90s, I think on like The Real World or something like that. But she has a career that goes really far back. However, since she's been off of the Basketball Wives, we've noticed her weight fluctuate. And so recently, it actually came out in an interview that she did that's been making its way around the media that she has in fact struggled with disordered eating since the age of 13. So according to Tami, she's been dealing with bulimia, anorexia, and things like that, which have definitely contributed to the drastic change in her appearance. Because, I mean, she was never a big woman. I never looked at her as like a big person, but when she started off Basketball Wives, she was like a really like a standard healthy, like I would say an average size, but over the years mama has dwindled. She's wasted away to nothing. And then on top of that, she has diabetes. So, these health issues have definitely left her looking a lot different. And so a lot of people, of course, have been very sympathetic and empathetic. I myself could definitely empathize with, having an eating disorder. And we'll get into why, because the minute I pulled up her chart, it was plain as day. So Tami Roman was born on April 17th, 1970, in Mount Vernon, New York. First things first, being born on the 17th actually reduces to 8. Okay, the number 17 breaks down to 8. These are people who can be incredibly hard on themselves. They could also be very successful, so that also has a lot to do with her longevity in the entertainment industry and all that good stuff. Okay, now once we look at her chart, her sun is actually placed at the 27th degree of Aries, so that makes her like a hardcore Aries, and she definitely displays a lot of Aries energy, and that's a different video for a different day that we'll get into some other time. But the jackpot and the major contributing factor to a lot of her health issues, including her eating disorders, would be the fact that Tami Roman is also a Virgo moon and south node, with her moon forming a tight conjunction to that south node. Very much like Lizzo, which I thought was very interesting. And a lot of people feel like, oh, eating disorders, when you think of an eating disorder, the first thing most people think of is like anorexia and bulimia, and you automatically associate that with a thin, frail body. But binge eating is also an eating disorder. And who's to say that Lizzo hasn't struggled with bulimia or anorexia at some point? So I mean, eating disorders can get so nuanced, and it's such a layered topic. But I said that to say, right, these people, when we talk about Virgo moons in and of themselves, but especially when it's conjoined to the south node, lots of karma tied up in control. So these are people who a lot of times feel the need to control things. And what better way to control yourself or what's going on in your life, even your emotions with that moon conjunction, than to control what you eat, your diet. So these are people who are naturally hardwired and programmed to, fixate on that area of their life anyway. And it can be very compulsive in nature. And then you add in the fact that she's part of that Pluto Virgo generation, so it can be very compulsive. And these are people who, naturally, care a lot. They can modify their diet, eliminate certain food groups from their diet, or even go to extremes, when it comes to, their diet and how they exercise, maybe exercising too much, or, whatever the case may be. And they can be susceptible to health issues over the years. And so, I mean, Virgo South nodes, and in a lot of cases, this could be mental health, but in some cases, it could also be physical health, right? And when we talk about that Pluto Virgo generation, as they get older, major issues with health. So these are things that actually make a lot of sense. She also mentioned that the eating disorder kicked off after she wanted to go to like a modeling camp at 13 or something like that. She got there and the modeling execs completely annihilated her. Like, girl, you this, you that, you fat, you this, and this. And that's really what activated a lot of those insecurities, which actually makes sense too, because it's a Pisces North Node. Her wanting to be a model definitely aligns with that. Being a model, being an actress, all of that could be, tied into that Pisces North Node. But Virgo South Nodes also, especially when we talk about the moon conjoined to that Virgo South Node, in many instances experienced a lot of things in early life, like early life programming and conditioning, that could have made them very, very hyper aware of themselves, very insecure. Virgo is actually one of the most insecure signs of the zodiac. So this configuration is very hard. A lot of the criticism that they receive, they can internalize it. Hence the moon conjoined to the South Node, right? The moon internalizes things. It's very impressionable. So a lot of what people may say to you or do to you, those things circulate in your head over and over again. That Pisces North Node, Virgo South Node axis could also manifest in body dysmorphia. Having a kind of distorted way that you view yourself, a distorted way that you view the world, as well as like a burning desire to achieve perfection. Something that, quite frankly, doesn't exist, but it doesn't seem that way to these people. She also has her Mars at the 29th degree of Taurus. That number 29, especially when in a sign like Taurus, could absolutely denote problems, major issues with food, right? But also major issues with one's identity, okay? And that Mars is opposing Neptune, which reinforces this kind of distorted view of oneself. It could even point towards like food addictions and things like that. Her Pluto in Virgo is forming a sesqui-square to her Saturn at that 10th degree of Taurus. Saturn in Taurus in and of itself can create a lot of karma surrounding, food and things like that. But that sesqui-square could deal with where a person could just go to like extreme. So like her taking extreme measures to restrict her food intake and things like that, right? Which with her actually being a birth number 8, these are people who can be really rigid just in general, especially when it comes to like their habits. I mean, even when you think about Pluto and Virgo, right? Your patterns, your habits, your routines. And sesqui square to Saturn, where she just, could be someone who I could see her dead ass not eating, or being like, you know what, I'm going to modify my diet to eat a grape a day, a cracker a day. I'm going to do this. And these are people who, it's a form of, once again, control, self-control, but they can even punish themselves. That's also very reminiscent of the number 8 too. Being very, much of a self-masochist, punishing yourself, hating yourself in many respects. These are people, when we talk about Saturn in Taurus, who have to learn how to love themselves unconditionally. A lot of times they judge themselves and others by a certain standard. And, she's actually a Taurus stellium. She has that Mars, Venus at the 17th degree of Taurus conjoined to Mercury, which could also, say a lot about her relationship with food. These are people who can also be like really big snackers and things like that. But, they could also have a very fragmented sense of self-esteem and self-worth. So she has a lot of karma to unpack in that area. As a Pisces North Node, right? These are people who, at the end of the day, their soul is on a journey to experience unconditional love and acceptance. Compassion even. Because when they do that, they're a lot less harsh on other people. Which, even when you think about a lot of her bully behavior on the show, it just really goes to show you miserable people, or people who are not happy with themselves, are the most hypercritical and hyper aware of other people's flaws. She also has Ceres running contraparallel to her Virgo moon, which could also reinforce there being some issues with food. Some of these people can even be impulse eaters. Okay. I don't know if she has issues with like acid reflux, digestion. That could be some of it. They could produce issues with that as well. Ulcers. They could, and even like a person who's, especially if you are someone who is bulimic, you throw up a lot to the point where, your stomach acid could like erode parts of your body, but like where it could just mess up the balance in your stomach, with the stomach acids and stuff like that. Hell, the number 8 deals with our dental, our teeth. So even with her Saturn, from that sesqui square to Pluto like that, she may very well have some problems with her teeth, or some dental issues, which is actually very common when we talk about bulimia. Now, I'm a Virgo moon as well, and I did have bulimia, and I struggled with binge eating for nearly all of my life. And it's real. It is real. It is real. That's why I actually feel really bad for her. Because having her Virgo moon conjoined to that South Node, that's going to be really hard to overcome. Not impossible, but I could definitely see her struggling with it for the rest of her life. Especially when we talk about food, because food is a necessary part of life. It just is. So it's not like a person who is an alcoholic where the easy answer could just be to eradicate alcohol from your life altogether. These are people who are constantly, especially when emotions are involved or you're triggered. You can even look at the moon as your subconscious programming. Subconsciously, she's hardwired and connected to that part of her. When she's triggered emotionally, when there are issues in her personal life, her number one defense is to, control something within her body, within herself. So it's tough. It's really tough, and I hate it for her. I'm also pretty sure her health has played a huge role in her inability to get pregnant and keep the child, because as of recently, she and her boyfriend have experienced several miscarriages. Now, she does already have 2 children that are grown, but she wanted a kid with her current boyfriend, Reggie, and within like the past 5 or 6 years, she's been pregnant before and just hasn't had any success in keeping the baby. The moon conjoined to her South Node could play a really big role in that, whether it be health issues, like physical health issues, and the strain that she's placed on her body over the years through the eating disorder. The moon in the South Node, having the moon conjoined to your South Node in general as a woman, can produce just a lot of karmic challenges with pregnancy. It could be really tough on your body or whatever the case may be, but I'm pretty sure that has a lot to do with it. Not to mention, she does have her Aries sun conjoined to Chiron that could produce issues with like conceiving or having children, as well as her sun in opposition to her Jupiter at that first degree of Scorpio. So that could also deal with like either like a miscarriage, the death of a child. Hopefully that that's as far as it goes in terms of just not being able to conceive. So, but I also wanted to mention lastly her neck. Okay, so not even trying to be funny, but I think even Evelyn Lozado mentioned this during the Basketball Wives reunion. She was trying to shade, but she did have a point, because she was like, looking at your neck, honey, like you need some insured. Like that's when people really started to notice that Tami was getting skinny, and we were like, is something wrong? Like, why her neck look like that? Like the thinner she got, it was just like the more pronounced her little neck looked, and it was just the bones in her neck were like protruding. It just looked so scary. She looked like a little chicken. Like it was crazy. But that, okay, her neck in particular could be implicated, or the reason why it looks like that is because she does have her Saturn, once again, at that 10th degree of Taurus. Taurus does rule the neck. Saturn could deal with like the bones in your neck, so literally like your throat, and that sesqui square to Pluto, where a health issue could have, resulted in her having some issues with her neck. I actually wouldn't be surprised if she had thyroid problems as well, which may have also played a role in, the way her either neck looks or, the weight. Of course, you can have a hyperactive thyroid, a hypoactive. That Saturn in Taurus, in addition to this Taurus stellium, could also even result in weight gain, or especially with Mars at that 29th degree of Taurus, taking it back to that placement, right? Intuitively, I even get like a yo-yo kind of effect. So this is why she started off thicker, and she actually fits, like when she had more weight on her, that Taurus dominant aesthetic, right? And a lot of Taurus dominant women could look really good would actually like wait on them, kind of have like that strong, kind of stocky look, but still very soft and voluptuous. I enjoyed her with more weight, but it's her body, and I know how eating disorders and body dysmorphia goes. So, and then finally, I wanted to touch on the fact that her Mars is forming a sesqui square to Jupiter at that first degree of Scorpio, which can also deal with binging and purging. So it could deal with her forcing herself to throw up, or where she's eating a lot or copious amounts of food at once. So it's really, I can see a lot of like the unhealthy dynamics in terms of her relationship with food within her chart. It actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I didn't want this video to be too long. Y'all drop down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about Tami's chart. How do you feel about her experience, or if you yourself have any type of experience, or if you know someone with experience with disordered eating, feel free to share. This is a safe space, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye.